I'm lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by Revenova, the official TMS provider for the Freight Coach. You guys, I've been a broker for a long time, and the tools that are at your disposal with Revenova help you eliminate bouncing between systems, which improves your accuracy when you are managing multiple tasks throughout your workday. Plus, it's built into the Salesforce cloud, so your CRM is fully integrated with your TMS, eliminating yet another silo. In today's day and age, you are definitely concerned about the safety of your data. With Revenova, it's fully protected. They have cutting-edge security that keeps your information safe so you can focus on what matters most, and that's growing your business. Speaking of growing your business, with Rate and Lane IQ, you get real-time pricing and route recommendations, helping you optimize costs and improve operational efficiencies, which ultimately helps you make smarter decisions. If you are like me and have recurring shipments from non-EDI customers, they have intuitive cloning features that let you easily replicate previous shipments, saving both shipper and carrier rates with just a few taps. If you are ready to learn more, visit www.revenova.com to request a demo. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agent success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach podcast. We are actually live today in person. It's a very simple process here, you guys. I do have a studio. I am a real person. I have a torso. You just got to hit me up and we can arrange this, especially if you're in the Phoenix area. I always want people to come in. Connor here with Canyon Logistics Group. We've been texting back and forth for a long time now, and we finally got something actually set for you to come in studio. So Connor, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
No, dude, this is perfect. I love it. I love having people in studio more and more because, you know, like it's, as everything is digital, you know, over Zoom and everything else is fine. But it's like, man, when you're actually able to connect with a person and have these conversations, I love it the most, man. So thanks for that. But dude, how'd you get your start in the industry? What brought you into transportation?
Geez, pretty interesting story. So I was in the military I did a 4-year active duty stint, and I separated. I came out to Arizona. So I was going to go to ASU to start school. And I was selling solar door to door in the Phoenix heat. So if you can imagine that, you know, it's pretty rough. So my partner, so John, who we started the company with, he was running freight out of Michigan, out of college, and kind of saw the opportunity. And we were like, hey, this is something that could be viable, that we could do long term. So that's kind of how the idea came. Past that, we drafted up on a whiteboard and we're like, let's get it going. So we drafted up a business plan and kind of went from there. That's kind of how we got our start. Past that, John came out here to Arizona. So we linked up, moved in together, and bootstrapped the company, you know? Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. On the finance side of things, we were cleaning college apartments. So if you can imagine that, at ASU, pretty gnarly cleaning out college apartments. John, thanks for that. We were also painting. So we were just doing odd jobs to help us finance the company, right? A true bootstrap kind of operation. Yeah. So that was super eye-opening, not having like a steady income,
Yeah.
and trying to finance a business and a startup and learn all these things and progress and grow. And I didn't have any business experience, very minimal experience in logistics past what John has shared with me and taught me. Yeah, just constantly learning and connecting with people. I know you and I connected super early
Yeah.
on, and I've been following you for a long time and I just try to absorb and learn from people as much as possible. So that's kind of how we got our start. Um, yeah, ever since then, we've just kind of been grinding. And like I said, every day has been a learning experience, new learning experience. I've never ran a business before.
Yeah.
I've never started a business before. I've never worked as like a W-2 broker in that setting. So a lot of learning. So it's been a process.
How long has it been? Like when did you get your start in this? Wasn't it like in 2020 is when you started all this?
2019 is when we got the
2019.
business started. Yep.
Okay. Dude, I'm glad you brought that up about the like the bootstrapping side of things, because I think that, it's almost to the point now, at least what I see on social media is you can just snap your fingers. Either you find investment or, you're a millionaire overnight, but it's very rare that you meet individuals who are like, no, man, I cleaned college apartments and painted and did whatever it took, to kind of get started. Because like, dude, when I first started out on my own, man, like I delivered pizzas at night just to pay the bills, just to like get any form of revenue coming in, because like I don't have a golden parachute, right?
Yeah.
Like I have, like, if this doesn't work, I don't have anybody I can call to be like, hey, can you float me 10 grand? Like I got none of that. Right. So it's like when I'm out here doing it, it's, I'm trying to piece this all together, and I try and talk about it as much as possible. Like this is literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and ultimately to me, it's not even the work like of brokering freight that gets me. It's all the other bullshit that comes up throughout the day and throughout the, the years of, like, I mean, I say it all the time, and I try and help people with trying to save them 5 years of their life of hire an attorney and a CPA right away. Like that is the literal first thing you should do, and have contracts for everything, because you need to understand the finance side of this, because that is, I think, in like with my friends at Denim, they advertise on their show. They've been longtime supporters of it, but like we do a monthly financial Friday to help people understand the business finance side of things, because it is still to this day, one of the most, I don't want to call it confusing, but it's like I'm constantly learning about the finance side of things, because you think it's the same as a personal finance, and it could,
it's a lot. It's a lot. And to go off that, I mean, who you kind of have in your corner helps a lot. Like how you're talking about Denim. I luckily have John. John is just a numbers whiz.
Mhm.
So that also, that attributes to our growth, and kind of where we are too, is having the right people in your corner and having people you can trust and help you get to that next spot. For John's sake, he just is naturally just a numbers guy. So that's just been instrumental in our success on that side of things, because it's such an important aspect of growing your business and getting started and getting to where you want to get. That's huge. The finance side of things, like you said, finance and contracts, right? So those are just things that you have to take into account. It's not just going out there and getting business. You got to set the frameworks, set your foundation, and then grow from there.
Mhm.
So that's huge.
What has been for you as you're coming up 5 years, 6 years, building this company up? What has been and this doesn't even have to be a logistics question, what's been one of those most pivotal moments, like aha moments, where you're like, I'm so glad this happened? It doesn't seem like it in the moment, but now kind of like looking back.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's one thing. I mean, there's so many different aspects to look at it. I don't know. An aha moment. I don't think I have one. There's so many different.
There's just a bunch of little ones.
Things. Yeah, like every day I'm constantly learning something new. Like, we've been running the business for going on 6 years, but legitimately every single day we're learning something new, whether it's, fixing contracts or tweaking contracts, or looking at sales from a different perspective, or just trying out new things and see what works. Because, success isn't overnight. You got to try things out and see what works for you.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep making moves, right? You got to keep trying things out. If it works, run with it, adjust it if you need to. If it doesn't work, maybe look at it from another angle or pivot and go back to where you were. I just think there's no like one roadmap to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's multiple things you can do and try and work at. There's not one specific way to get to where you want to get.
How important is it though to take that path though of like, I mean, I call it's like it's our R&D is what the way that I call it. You know, like my business partner, background in mechanical engineering, like he actually openly tries to find what's wrong, and I'm like, all right, well, that's cool, but like at the end of the day, we got to act. And I feel like there's no, and I don't think that there's any way, there's no one set blanket rule of how you can develop business across the board. I think that is a farce, and I think that's a lie, because what works for me might not work for you. But it's like, for me, it's like find out what does work for you or what doesn't, and then stop doing what doesn't work, and then try and make those moves. Because I feel like the arrogance that kind of comes along with it of, oh, it's just it's not me, it's everybody else. It's like, no, at some point in time, you have to cut bait and realize like, hey, this is me, this is what I'm, and you know what you're doing wrong in those instances. And, you know, from a business development standpoint, at least for us, it's like every time that we've kind of got off path, it might have worked short term, but it's always kind of proven like it is not worth it in the long run, right? Like, and that's why I always preach the whole choose that niche and operate inside of that niche, because, you know, we do full truckload, primarily open deck. Every time we've gotten business that has kind of taken us away from that, and then we thought like, oh, you know what, now we're going to go all sell and do all of this other stuff, it's never panned out. You know, there's such a learning curve that comes along with it, that when you start breaking down the hours you invest in it, you're actually like losing money, and then you're not actually making any progress. And that's why it's like, I'm just like, man, and that was one of the things that we decided over Christmas is I'm like, dude, we just got to do one thing, and we got to do it better than everybody else. And then we just got to stick with that no matter what. And, you know, for me, it's going to boil down to cold calling. It's going to be boiling down to how do we get in front of people to show like, hey, I'm an actual human being at this point. But just like with everybody, you know, there's been other things that came up like, oh, maybe we should go try LTL, or maybe we should go do this or do that. And it just never panned out. But again, it's important to go through those situations, because otherwise, man, it just gives you this false sense of like, this is the way it should be.
I agree. No, I think that's a good way to put it. Because I mean, we started trying to do freight of all kinds, right? Trying to just go after full truck, maybe like a general commodity, whatever it might be. But, you know, we really, I guess we found success in the nursery and greenhouse industry. So we do a lot of shipping for nursery, greenhouses, farmers. You know, we do, it's seasonal, but it's something that we specialize in. We do a lot of plants, trees, flowers, then we'll tap into pumpkins, Christmas trees, you know, during the season. So I think that is super important to have a niche and something that you can specialize in, that, you know, like, for example, for nursery greenhouse, a lot of them ship on like CC racks, like a metal plant rack. And with metal plant racks, you need logistics posts, or you need E-tracks and straps. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that passover with open deck and heavy haul and flatbed freight. There's those specifics that you need. And when you understand that and you know that, you can communicate that to the shipper, they're probably way more inclined to want to work with you. Yeah. You know?
No, and that's exactly it, right? Is you know, when I'm out there actually, you know, making my cold calls, and it's, you know, it's the same thing of like, you know, hey, we're not doing this. And I'm like, hey, I understand, but can you just answer this for me quick? And then that qualifying question that you're talking about there almost always disarms them to the point where they're like, actually, you need to speak with so-and-so. And then, you know, again, like, I'm just trying to get a little bit of information every single time. Maybe I call in, I talk to the gatekeeper, they'll hit me with that rejection, and then I'll ask them that qualifying. They're like, oh, hold on, you're not like everybody else. You actually need to speak with Jim Bob, making that name up, you know, call back at this time or whatever that is. And it's like, boom, that's progress in the right direction. And that wouldn't have happened if I would have just been a run-of-the-mill broker. And
I agree.
You know, also from my perspective, like, I'm just not a pushy type of person, because I hate when people try and do that to me in my personal life. So why would I try and do that when I'm out there trying to, you know, actually build or qualify a lead that goes on out there? Because I'm assuming this is something that you go through as well. You are out there actively qualifying everybody. You don't have a list of market qualified leads that just come in that somebody actually called and verified, because again, like, we've paid for lead generation software. We've done all of that stuff, but it's never been what we were actually looking for. Yep. So it's like, there's nothing that I have found that is more effective than just picking up the phone and having a quick 30-second conversation. And I'm not going in there hoping to, like, I'm not expecting to get business out of it when I'm doing it. I'm just mainly trying to find out, like, is this something that could actually grow into a future customer? Because in
That's so important.
dude, it's like in the open deck world, for example, how many people have their own fleet now that do all of their own customer deliveries? A lot.
Yeah.
It building materials, everything else. So it's like, you can go through this and you could be emailing these companies. And again, you guys, I'm not making this up. I did that for 15 months. I emailed these companies, no response, no response, no response. I pick up the phone and I call them, and they're like, man, we actually have our own fleet. We're supplier driven in this regard. We do all of our own customer deliveries. And I'm like, damn. Yep. And that's when that realization just started getting me. I'm like, I didn't waste time, and I try not to beat myself up from that, because again, you're going to fuck everything up when you're out there on your own. But I've just found it now to where it's like, that's why, again, I will always rely on picking up the phone, calling them, getting in front of them, because there is more value in knowing who not to go after and what not to do than who do and who to go after in those instances.
Yeah. You want to qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, picking up the phone is the best way to do it. You can get someone on the line. Maybe if you vet their website and see what they're about, you can get some information. Maybe it'll say, we outsource. Maybe it says we have our own fleet. That can help qualify. But still, nothing's going to help you more than calling, getting somebody on the phone. And that's just, that's part of the pipeline. That's part of the sales process, and like you said, with lead lists, we've tried that too, going back to trying things out and just keep trying to progress. Like, now we know that, hey, lead lists probably don't work. Let's look at this from another angle. Let's try something else. Let's build our own sales list. Let's build our own lead list. We can go through their website and qualify them that way. If it looks promising, we'll keep them on the list, call, and then, continue that process.
How important is it to actually go through something like that before buying software and then finding out you don't actually need it? Because I feel like, again, I'm a massive fan of technology and automation, but like, there's a lot of stuff out there that you don't actually need. What did you do? Like, kind of, how did you go through some of that?
That's a good question. Again, another thing of starting up and learning, software. I probably get 3 to 5 software sales calls a week, or emails, whether it's AI or lead lists or TMS or whatever it might be. There's so many software tools out there, and we started so lean. We literally started the brokerage on a Google sheet.
Damn.
So we had tabs, we had color codes, we had functions on it. It showed us our gross revenue, our margin. We had a carrier list. I mean, everything was done. We basically had our own TMS built in-house on a Google sheet. And it was phenomenal. It worked excellent. If we needed to change something, we could easily do it. We didn't have to go to the software development guys at whatever TMS software and tell them, hey, this is what we need, because they're not going to do it. So that was cool. We got to tailor something that worked for us. And it worked for us because we were small at the time, But as we progressed and got more people in the door, more customers and clients, it's like, hey, let's try. So we demoed software. I think that's the most important thing, is running demos and seeing what works for you. But we still went through 2 other TMS systems before where we landed now, so it's part of the process.
Yeah.
But software is huge. I mean, it's important, but I mean, if you're talking about starting up, I don't think it's a necessity. I think running lean is totally fine. Like an in-house TMS system or a sheet, we built our own rate cons, carrier 4-on-1, definitely recommend something like that, because you need to vet your carriers. That's everything. If you work all this time to get a shipper, you need to be sending them quality carriers, and that's huge. You can't risk, especially in your infancy stage, you can't risk, a load getting double brokered or a non-compliant carrier. So that's everything. That's part of your service. If you're telling this shipper that, hey, we can get you these quality trucks, we can do X, Y, Z. Start with the carrier side. Yeah. Vet your carriers. That's so important. And we still keep that mindset, for today. It's vetting is one of our most strict policies that we have. Yeah. You have to follow carrier vetting.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Right. Yeah. And, again, I feel like, technology, like I said, it's great. But like at the end of the day, I feel like, if you're not careful, you pay for a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden you're getting hit for, $1,500, $2,000
Yeah.
a month in technology. And some of you are thinking like, oh, that doesn't sound like that much. But when you have $0 coming in, it's a lot of
it's a
fucking
lot.
money,
Yeah.
you know, and that's
Squeezes you quick. Yeah.
so it is though, like it's one of those situations where I feel like as you're going on out there, like I talk about all the time, TMS, first thing that you need, if you know, like again, affording it is one thing, but like invest in a TMS, make sure that they have integrations already in place with load boards. I would say load boards would probably be number 2 from that one, carrier vetting, number 3 in regards to a lot of that stuff. But, you know, again, man, it's like, it's easy to get caught up in thinking like, oh, I have all of this, the freight's just going to come to me.
Yep.
And I think that more people, and I see this all the time. And that's like, again, that's why I do what I do every single day, because I'm all about the blocking and the tackling. I'm all about the fundamentals of the industry. And like a lot of great, you know, information that's out there, it's great, but like if whether the market's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff because like I need to grow my company, right?
Yep.
Like I can't take those external, you know, headlines and be like, oh shit, I shouldn't do it. Nobody's doing this or nobody's doing that. And I'm like, man, it's great reference points, but I don't rest on anybody else's opinion. And like, I'm just out here trying to like put the work in myself and try and find out like what is going to work for me. And then on top of it, like stop focusing on where I'm not and start focusing on where I am and how do I get down the road a little bit further? Because I feel like, you know, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, man. How many times do you sit there throughout the day and you're like, what are we doing wrong? Why are all these other people apparently so successful? And how many times has that stopped you from actually doing the work that you know is required?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, especially if you're comparing yourself to others, you know, that's tough.
Mhm.
If you're looking at other brokers that have been doing it, whether it's even less time than you,
Mhm.
you know, as they say, comparison is the thief of joy, right? If you're constantly comparing yourself or looking at these other companies doing XYZ, or, you know, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what kind of customer base they have. So I feel like as long as you're just keeping yourself accountable and doing what you got to do and having goals set and, you know, making sure that you're making positive steps forward, even if that's going off track and doing something that might not work, you know, you got to be able to get back on track and just keep pushing and plugging away. And like you said, follow the fundamentals, you know, that's everything, like the cold calling, the carrier vetting. Like you don't have to have everything automated or be AI integrated with every single step of the way. Like you can still do the work. It's not unattainable. It's extremely doable.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, like what you said, follow the fundamentals. Like don't go out there comparing yourself to others. Just stay on your course and make sure that you're doing what you got to do.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like with where I am with a lot of this is what, and for a very big thing for me this year is to actually spend even less time on social media and more time in my company, because I've just come to find that at the end of the day, man, whatever anybody else is doing out there is irrelevant, because that doesn't make me a better leader. That doesn't make my business more profitable. None of that stuff. That's all going to fall on me. And I think like a lot of what's out there is, you know, again, it's designed to keep you distracted. And I don't know of any other podcast freight related that takes the angle that I take with a lot of that stuff. But like, I'm going to continue to do that because I'm actually in the trenches, right? Like I'm not just posting about what I used to do. It's like, no, I'm in it. I'm actually booking loads. Like we have drivers moving right now. We had loads pick up and deliver already today. We're in it. And I want to continue to bring that angle. And it's more of like, hey, this is what we're seeing that's working. Because like, dude, I've been doing this since 2011. All right. So we're coming up on 14 years of brokering freight. It is vastly different today than it was when I first started from a business development perspective. From, you know, the carriers are kind of the same in the sense of like, you know, that carrier relationship hasn't really changed much but from like an opportunities perspective, from what I've noticed, at least like when I jumped back in and started selling, vastly different. It's a lot longer sales cycle that's out there. You used to be able to say, you know, essentially you can just kind of call somebody and then within a couple of calls, they're like, hey man, yeah, you sound good enough. Let's do it. But like, there's like 30 some thousand freight brokers right now that registered anyways. God knows how many are out there doing and going through that. But again, what everybody else is doing is irrelevant. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on what we do. And I got to focus on how do I improve my profitability again so we can grow, so we can scale. But like I've deduced it down to daily repeatable actions, right? Like 45 cold calls every single day. I stopped doing cold emails because cold emails were not working for me, but cold calls are working for us. Site visits are working for us.
Yep.
Like, and I'm not saying this to brag, but we literally onboarded 2 shippers yesterday through cold calling. We onboarded 0 from cold emails in the last 15 months. All right. So again, like that's where we have saw, and we picked up our first load for one of these new customers today. We got our other one picking up for a new customer next week. But again, through cold calling. So that's why it's like, I'm such a proponent of it. And I'm not going to sit back and talk about what I think could possibly happen. It's like, no, like this is the fucking receipts, you guys. Like this is from somebody who's in the trenches. And, you know, not everybody has the inbound leads that can come in, or they can't afford to pay for all of that stuff. But it's like, I'm here to tell you, like the basics, the blocking and the tackling of this shit it's not going to change. I don't think it's going to change in the foreseeable future. And even if AI does come in and changes things, you know, it's going to work knocking on somebody's door. Hey, I'm not a bot.
That's going to be the best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when AI takes over, if you're calling people or showing up on site, that's the easiest way in the door, you know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I agree with that, man. But I feel like it's so easy to just get kind of caught up in where you're not. Cause I mean, I'm a very competitive person. I'm, you know, I'm a normal human being at the end of the day. I have all of that stuff, but like, I've just found like the more I eliminate distractions out there and the more I focus on my day, my schedule, what I do, everything becomes more and more calm. And a really good podcast for you to start listening to, if you're not aware of it already, it's called Founders. And it's a dude who like legitimately just reads biographies of some of the most successful business leaders across the world. And I've listened to him a lot over Christmas break. And, you know, same thing, man, all of them, you look at the Carnegies of the world, they started with one thing. You look at all of these dudes that are out there, Jobs, all of the most successful entrepreneurs that we all look up to did one thing, you know? So it's like, that was another driving force for me to be like, all right, we're going to simplify it. We're going to deduce it down. We're going to simplify our messaging, and we're going to simplify our outreach, because again, I think a lot of people are hanging on the fact that things might change in 2025, but what if they don't? Have you ever stopped to think like, what if what happened in 2024 remains in 2025? You know, like I have all the faith in the world that President Trump is going to come in and be the most pro-business president of all time. But is it going to change tomorrow? No, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's not. Those are external factors. You know, you can look at those and point at them and be a wishful thinker, but back to what you said, following the fundamentals, you know, I don't pay attention too much to that, you know, to that stuff. Obviously it's important from an industry perspective, but you still got to pick up the phone. You still got to call. You still got to go, you know, through your SOPs. You still got to do your part in your job. You know, those external things are they're always going to be there. The markets are always going to shift. There's always going to be new people in office. You know, I don't think it's something that you should sweat over too much, other than just keep doing what you got to do.
No, I think that, I mean, it's imperative, right? Like ultimately you need to just stop looking for somebody else to tell you everything's going to be all right. And you need to create your own environment. You need to create that, because it's like, I know a lot of people who were very successful over these last couple of years, like in the worst freight market of all time, they grew, you know, and why is that, right? More times than not, again, I can't prove this because I'm not inside of their business, but probably they stopped listening to other people and they just stuck to their plan that goes on out there. And I feel like it's, you know, the same thing as you're growing your business ultimately is you cannot be afraid to fuck up. You're going to fuck up. You're going to fail way more than you're going to succeed.
Yep.
And I feel like that's just kind of part of it, you know, as you're going out there, like there's so much you're going to learn. And I feel like the faster I got to accepting that, like, I don't know fucking anything, like things got a lot more calm, you know, because like I'm very more, and I'm saying that because like I'm more open-minded to like going into a lot of these situations of like, instead of thinking I need to know how to do it, I'm more like, I need to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Try it, you know, see what happens, see what works. And if it doesn't work, at least now you know that doesn't work. You know, I was telling you earlier, we went through 5 hires this year, you know, trying to get agents in the door, and none of them panned out. But hey, now I have a better idea of how to hire, how to manage, how to train, onboarding process, like what we should be, pointing these people to do. So it's all a learning process. I can't expect to just hire someone on and have them make 10 million in revenue and do all these great things. Like it's part of the process. It happens.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's your ability to push through those setbacks, if you want to call it a setback, more of like a learning process, right? But you got to just keep plugging away, keep trying stuff, and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you're going to get punched in the face so many times.
It's a good way of
day in and day out, right? Like, at least for me anyways, like the more and more I think about going back, it's like, man, you need to be a glutton for punishment if you're going to go out there and make it on your own. Because it's every time you think you're going to get a little bit of progress, something's going to pop up. Right. Yeah. And, but you need to accept that, like that is what you've signed up for. Like if you want to own a company, if you want to be different than everybody else, and because I feel like most individuals, the first sign of adversity, they stop. They instantly retract back into their shell.
Yeah, it's hard.
And exactly. Right. But like, and there's that's why I feel like this isn't you can't do this in a 9-to-5 way and expect to grow. Like, what are you doing outside of work? I feel like is just as important as what you're doing in, the information 100%. You're consuming, the content you're listening, all of that stuff is very imperative to your growth, right? Because I might not physically be here every single, 12, 14 hours a day, but like, dude, when I'm working out in the morning, audiobook, podcast, if I'm doing anything at home, it's what I'm consuming after this, the books I'm reading and everything else. Cause I found like, man, there's so many nuggets inside of all of that stuff that has helped me. Maybe not today, but like, I know in due time, it's going to all pay for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's investing in yourself. Whether it's knowledge, health, staying active, going to the gym, reading, listening to podcasts, all these things I think translate to your work life as well and personal life as well.
Yeah.
Just like you had the guest on, was that last week, the marathon?
About
health. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so important. Like you got to take care of yourself if you want to. I think that's a huge proponent to the business aspect itself, whether you're an owner or even an employee, like you got to take care of yourself, your health, your mental health. Like that's so important. I think it's not talked enough about.
Yeah.
It's more like, hey, you should be doing this or this amount of sales calls or try this strategy. But like, I think it starts with your health. Like take care of yourself. Dude. Like, are you happy? Are you healthy? If not, like work on those things too. I think that's super important because like you said, you're going to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
If you're doing sales calls, if you're running the business, shit happens. You're going to get backtracked. You're going to fail. So I think all those things kind of go hand in hand.
Dude, I love it. Connor, that flew by as I kind of figured it would.
Is it 10 o'clock?
Yeah, man. We crushed this one, but
nice.
I'll have to have you back, man. I mean, again, I got to clarify on this. I do not charge anybody to be on this show. All right. I'm very fortunate to have advertisers. Even if I didn't have advertisers, I don't charge people. I've heard that other podcasts might do that. I personally do not do that. If you want to come onto this show, all you have to do is send me a DM. Very complex, I know. And then we can talk from there. We can schedule things out. If you're in Phoenix, same thing. I'd love for you to swing by and do these conversations in person. So Connor, thank you so much for your time today, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
That's going to be it, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show. If you're feeling really ambitious after this one, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.